So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, for spending what I hope is your lunch hour with us. We are striving to make this lunch hour worthwhile and convince you that applying for Project Reach is worth it and will be a unforgettable experience for you. So thank you again. Let me introduce myself. I'm Alejandra Aguirre. I'm the Assistant Director for the Community Engagement Core Resource at the Irving Institute. We're with Columbia University Irving Medical Center, and it's the Irving Institute who is providing the funding and the support for Project Reach. And so this upcoming cycle is our third cycle of Project Reach, and we're very excited because the feedback from our past participants has been very positive. You'll get to hear from them later on in the hour about their experiences, what they got out of it, and you'll also get to ask them questions. So we're very excited to be able to offer this, and also to be able to do this virtually, given the pandemic and not being able just yet to reconvene in person as we've offered the program in the past. But I think similarly, and we'll get into it, the pandemic has challenged us to think about in different ways, how do we outreach to the communities that we serve. So similarly, it challenged us to figure out, how are we going to offer this program, because it's always been important, but I think now because of the special circumstances that we're living in, it's even more important. So we're glad to be able to offer this completely virtually. I know that based on the registration for today's webinar, you all are joining from different areas of the US, and so that's very exciting, and we hope that by being able to offer this virtually, then it does offer the opportunity for wherever you are to be able to participate in this program. So I'm going to go over what is Project Reach, and the curriculum, who's eligible for the program, so on and so forth. And then I'll open it up to some questions. So what is Project Reach? Project Reach is a fellowship for representatives of community-based organizations that serve Washington Heights, Inwood, Harlem, and the Bronx, as well as for graduate students from Columbia, City College, and Lehman, both those that are currently doing a graduate program, as well as those who have recently graduated. So maybe you're graduating this May, congratulations, or you graduated in the last year or two. We welcome you to consider this project as a growth and professional experience over the summer. So one of our main key principles for Project Reach is interprofessional learning. And so the reason why Project Reach is for community representatives and students is because you are actually placed into groups, and you take the entire fellowship, you receive all the sessions, all the training and skills building in your groups to foster that interprofessional collaboration and that exchange of ideas and learning that I think more and more is becoming the norm in the field, but also is at the center of community engagement and knowing how to engage with each other. And so we go through this experience together in order to learn about outreach and engagement, design principles, video production, storytelling, and I'll go into more detail on those areas. also that we can all have a better tool belt in the way we communicate about our work to those that we are serving. And so the focus of the Project Reach in terms of the communication products that are coming out of Project Reach are driven by the community organizations that participate in Project Reach. So they dictate what they would like to focus on, whether these materials that include a flyer, a video, and social media should focus on the organization as a whole, or in one particular, say, program or service that you're interested in promoting, or a mix. So where did this idea come from for Project Reach? What is our value statement? So we put in a lot of thought and self-reflection, and Project Reach is based on the belief that localized and culturally relevant communication is key to improving our well-being and the well-being of our communities. It's also based on the belief that collective participation between diverse voices will reshape inequitable practices and engender creative communication solutions that will impact health. And so how do we actually put into practice that statement? So for example, collective participation. I mentioned the importance of having all of our participants be in these mixed groups of students and CBO representatives. But you're also actually going to be challenged to engage with your clients, with the people that you serve, in ways that perhaps you haven't in the past, so that we arrive at collectively valuing the feedback that our communities offer based on their own lived experiences, and how that is critical and in informing the way we reach out to them, but also the way we engage and we build relationships with them. And so by doing that, by working with individuals, with colleagues of different backgrounds, of that come with different training in different areas, as well as valuing the feedback of the people that we are serving, then we are reshaping again our relationships that typically, for example, I'll give you service learning, which Project Reach is not. Service learning typically puts the student in the role of a consultant, and oftentimes can leave out the CBO from participating in that skills building, in that class that the project is situated in. And so we have consciously moved away from that and instead intentionally put you together in these groups. Again, to change those dynamics, those old ways of working together, and move from it being more of a consultee to building capacity among everyone in the group. Since everyone is going through the training together and is mutually responsible for the assignments and the products that will come out of this fellowship. And so again, by changing the way that we engage with each other, we're reshaping these inequitable practices that typically, bless you, left out key community stakeholders in this process. And then creative communication solutions. We need to recognize how are we serving our communities, but also how do our communities function? What are the communication modalities that are still functioning, among the communities that we work with. You know, initially, I'll tell you a story. When we first did this pre-pilot of this project, we did not focus on flyers as we do now. We focused heavily on social media and other digital formats. But then, you know, again, we listened to our community, and they told us that by focusing so much on social media, we were excluding a significant proportion of the community that was not on the internet, that was not on the social media, that still heavily relied on flyers and word of mouth to learn about what was going on in the neighborhood. And so we incorporated flyers, and actually flyers is one of the main deliverables out of this project. So what does REACH stand for? So the full name of Project REACH is Reach and Engage to Advance Community Health. And this represents you know, the values and principles that we believe in. We believe that communication is the mechanism to, you know, engagement. And that engagement is a process of building equitable relationships and valuing the experience and the knowledge that everyone brings to the table. That Project REACH has the possibility of, you know, advancing our collective well-being as well as our skill set, and changing, again, the dynamics and the relationships between professionals, between colleagues, and community residents. And that through Project REACH, we're fostering a professional community that's interested in community engagement and health communication, and in engaging different stakeholders using, you know, principles of community engagement. And that lastly, a way to change health is impacted by the way health information is communicated, and that we need to make health information relevant to our target audiences. And so the curriculum touches on these 5 different principles in order to be able to meet them. Okay, I'm just doing a time check. So as I mentioned, the curriculum emphasizes community outreach and engagement. There's a difference between outreach and engagement. You know, outreach is how do we identify and how, you know, do we find our target audience, and then engagement is how do we foster a relationship. How do we bring our target audience to the table to engage with the information and the material and the services that we're offering? Design principles for media material. You know, there is an entire field, you know, dedicated to this, that the visuals, that we use to communicate, say, the purpose of our project or the purpose of our organization does matter, or the way we communicate health information matters. And so we go through that. Also, social media strategy. It may, you know, organizations are at different stages in their use of social media. And so the assessment will help determine, does the organization have the capacity? Or based on the capacity, what actually are you able to do with social media to support your work? Video production and storytelling are very popular right now. And so we'll go over, you know, how do you do it right? How do you tell a story through images and through video? So we'll go through the entire process from pre-production, production, and post-production. And our last section is actually a screening of all the videos.